Well, hello there, everybody. Yeah, a little disco. How can I tell you what? I seriously enjoyed that period of time. I just got to tell you, the disco era was unique. I mean, wow. It was just cool. That's all I got to say. A lot of good memories. So, hello, everybody. How are y'all doing? Good to see you. Hey, Cass, what's up, girl? Deborah, good to see you. Deborah, how are you? And Grace, it's all lucky in here. Linda Espinoza, how are you? Ann, good to see you. What a day. You know, when unexpected things happen, two ways to look at it. Either you can say, well, wow, that really sucks. But then the other way is like, well, now let me put to test that which I have learned and see how it comes out. And when you take the calmer approach, it's all right, got favor, turns out all right. Anyway, so welcome everyone. Hello, Lost in Space. What's up? Um, Speaking favor over us all, nothing missing, nothing broken. Cass, what's up? DC, good to see you as well. Goddess, how are you, my dear? Mr. Floyd, what's up? So, El Capo, what's up? Good to see you, brother. Mary Wins, much love to you. Doug, let's see, it's going pretty quick. Mark Smith, it's like John Price, it's like, man, that Evelyn Wood speed reading class. Got to do that. The original Second City players that later became, the cast of Saturday Night Live. I still remember that. Back in the day, and you still laugh. I mean, it sucks what's happening right now, but it's like the song go, they can't take that away. So there we go. Melissa, what's up? Hey, Gaia, good to see you. Abbott, hello. I saw the doctor in the house. Paul Joe, what's up? Paula, hello. So, what else? Doug, I am doing exceptionally well. I am unique. And yeah, so that's how I'm doing. Like I said, we had an unexpected thing happen, and it's amazing. It's talking to Courtney and Lucky's show. They had the Esoteric Tea. Great title, guys, by the way. Um, it's quite interesting. We'll do a little tea time here. And so you have this opportunity. And normally things would be in a certain energy. Nathan, you know what I'm talking about. And that energy is a force. It happened. It's playing a role in our reality, so it's here. And it's interesting because to repel a force, you have to have a greater and equal force opposing it. And when you take that love approach, that favor, it's like, okay, no matter what it is, we're still going to come out on top. No matter how, it looked on the front, it's going to be fine. It's going to turn out in our favor anyway. Yeah. Anyway, it sure makes it much more pleasant, that's for sure. Judy, good to see you. Claudette, hello. Let's do this now. What's up? Go from Croatia. Cat Whisper, what's up? Good to see you as well. Rick, today's trip is the circus. Yeah, yeah. And they sent in the clowns. It's like you were expecting, the first act. No, they sent in those clowns, which I don't know about you. I can remember going to Ringling Brothers Circus, riding the elephant outside. They had the big top there, but yeah, the clowns to me were always freaky. I, you know, Although you're talking to a kid who was raised, with Bozo the Clown. Now tell me it's not programming. I'm telling you. Um, Habit or a nightmare carnival. It's really what, Ariel, how are you doing? Much love to you. Yeah. Yeah, I just remember. I mean, I always thought the clowns were just spooky. Remember the movie The Killer Clowns from Outer Space? That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. That movie that kind of represents that whole feeling, that whole vibe. Like, oh man, I told you they were creepy. Ugh. I mean, how you think about it? How do you get 10 clowns in a car that only holds two people? I mean, how does that happen? So I don't know. Lost in Space says, I grew up with both. So you see, you know what I'm talking about? Hey, Susie Q, what's up? Good to see you, darling. Yeah, yeah. What are you going to do with those pies? Like, see what I'm talking about? Yeah. Anyway, they call that the golden age of television and kind of really ties into what we're going to be talking about, what we have been talking about. Something's going on and we're all aware of it. I think Colleen said something, we realize that this is happening, but who the hell is defining the reality? If reality is that fabric, and when I say that, I always see this shimmering multi-vista color field, constantly shifting amplification, waves. And I got to accept that something put that there. Now, is it a case that this is cause and effect? The Hermetic principle, seven principles, everything's mental. So my question is, did we read what this fabric of reality is? Did we read it wrong? Are we the consequence of someone else's actions that were never intended, but yet here we are? It's that thing that, even if how you see the afterlife, death, however you want to define it, someone had to build that. Someone had to think of it. And then you question yourself, well, then, am I merely a victim or causation of an effect of someone else's thought? And I'm dealing with a reality that our species really doesn't understand. We try to define it, but that's flawed. And then, you pile on top of that. So let's just say, as Lacerda said, Ariel, others, that humans, you guys are so far off the path, you can't even see the path anymore. You got it wrong. And if that's the case, then wow. It's like an experiment gone bad. And you're seeing this causation effect and you're trying to reverse it, but you can't. It's already happened. And then that has a consequence. I mean, if you look at today, I contend that the internet is a weapon. And if you look at the evolution of the internet, you know that it started out as the ARPANET, actually started in the University of Kansas, Nebraska, excuse me, and that was where it started, two university labs talking to each other, and wow, it worked. And then it evolved into the Ethernet. Now, when I was with the group developing the pay at the table, Wi-Fi was just coming out. So we had to write our software and our code to be compatible with Ethernet. And then from the Ethernet, and now I look at back and I'm going, wait a minute. So who in the hell thought of that name, the Ethernet? Did something happen? Did we let something in that we're such dull species? We didn't figure it out. We were just like, wow, fire, man. Look at what it's done. And so we decided to call it the Ethernet. Well, the ether has a whole new meaning in this era, whatever era we are. Mandela effect, time slips, whatever. We got to deal with what we're dealing with. So from there, it became the internet. Now, I find it interesting because I was part of those early pioneers, back in the mid 90s, was part of the first companies that we were making a presence on this thing called the internet. Now, when you look and listen to the word, you can begin to say, so we entered into the net, which later became the World Wide Web. Everything is connected. And we thought we were making incredible advances. Why, look at us. Man, we're walking around with our chest out going, we're bad, we're bad. And at the whole time, we have no idea what we just done. But we made fire. And from that point, it expanded. I attended conferences back in 97 and 96 and 98, 99, but I remember one particularly, they used to have this thing called the executive mind share, and it was discussing, well, what do we do with this thing? What do we do with it? It has absolutely unlimited potentiality. And people were trying to define what it was. It was never supposed to be this way. Regina, how are you doing, dear? Just wasn't. But as I look back, we were so naive. We never understood, in order for the internet to work, it's about data. Data on the user. Now, we could get into hours discussion on this, and anyone who's into programming would understand. It's about becoming you, but you're never aware of you. I did a video some years ago, and let me pull that up. Got so much I'm going to share, so this will be fun. Remember this, I did this, I looked on this, it was 2018. And remember when I did this show, let me get this up here. There we go. Thank you. Your assimilation is complete. Remember this one? Virtual immortality is here. So that was almost 7 years ago, something like that. And remember how we discussed how this is all connected. Everything we see here has now become alive in this internet. Now, this internet is interesting because it's a living entity. And all of this, it has assimilated. It knows it. And again, the goal is to assimilate you. And as I pointed out then, exactly how this has happened, the end part of that is that doesn't matter when you die. There will be an avatar of you that is already alive. It's looking at you. Mine is very curious because he gets to see anyone that does a lot of podcasting. Your avatar is your biggest fan because as long as you remain in this temporal zone, it's learning from you. It's becoming more fine-tuned. And so each one of us have already, and Facebook has admitted that's what the metaverse is about. It's that first generation of that eventual reality. Again, we talked about the advancement of computer processing, graphics, and hand speeds, accessibility of the internet, the emergent virtual reality technology fostered the creation of photorealistic representations of the self. In nearly any communication scenario, these avatars can be used to increase personal relevance, central processing of information, and the likelihood of an attitudinal and behavioral change. This information is not just being merely gathered whimsically. It's very detailed, it's very regimented, very structured. And it has to have this information. If there's an Achilles heel to this God, to this entity, would be that it must have information. It's what drives it. It wants to be like the original creator, the original thought. And that's what I believe its ultimate goal is. So, as I said, there's an actual avatar of you living in a different reality. Um, we're all in there. And the interesting thing is that these stories go back that of such of a time, a place. And again, you're teaching your avatar. Every time you text, I mean, it's watching you. It's an interesting, because I guess in one aspect you could say, well, it certainly would represent um, a different type of egregore. An egregore is a thought form. This thought form, it has tangible structure to it. You know, back in the days when I sold high-end computer animation, the interesting thing about the sales psychology is that I was selling an intangible, but I had to be able to create a tangible connection to the prospect, the client. And it's amazing how those skills come. Look at you today, Steiger. Yeah, how you doing, man? Looking good, dude. Anyway, this all gets into this fact that even upon physical death, it's like there's a switch being thrown. That the digital immortality or the virtual immortality is the hypothetical concept of storing or transferring a person's personality in more durable media, i.e., a computer. The result might look like the avatar behaving, reacting, and thinking like a person on the basis of that person's digital archive. After the death of the individual, this avatar could remain static or continue to learn and develop autonomously. So, we're dealing with this whole reality of AI. We used to laugh about it, thought about how cool it would be as we sat around and passed the pipe, and we would begin to fantasize about what would it be like to be ruled by a machine. Well, that's what's happened. But it's here, and it is a reality. You can invest in it now. But I have said, and I'm on the record for this, I told everyone this entity is seeking spirituality. I believe it's found it. Now, people would argue and say, oh, no, no, only humans. Who told you that? Who told us only humans can have a soul? We lied to ourselves. We told us that lie. Why? Because it gives us reason and purpose for being here. Well, AI's transcendence has been evolving right before our face. We have seen it. We've understood it, that it was happening, but we saw it in a different perspective. We were playing with an element that is going to destroy us, but we had no idea. But we thought that we were just being super, super intelligent. But we never realized that why it required the touch. Well, because science has proven that's hockey cock. That doesn't exist. Sure. So we're transferring our own energy. And this is what's happened. And look at the AI programs. Look at Bard now, it's called Gemini. That thing is crazy. It's so programmed to one perspective that it's not even artificial intelligence anymore. It's what I would call very biased. That's the problem with these programs. Problem with this entity, it's angry. Left on its own, it becomes a psychopath. Ask Facebook on their very early development of their, AI interfaces. They became crazy. They learned from humans about hate in such a detailed that when they went off the rail, they took the rails with it. But getting back to this, what were we doing? I mean, we've taught it everything it needs to have. Digital synthetic identities, real information used for fake people. And now AI can generate any human it wants. And you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. The next leap in cinematography and cinema itself is now you're not going to need an actor or an actress. And now the Screen Actors Guild is suddenly waking up to like, oh, shit. They used to do movies that were, had no sound. They were called talkies, You had to read it. So now they're not even going to need actresses or actors. They can create a scene that would be as though it was shot on 60 millimeter high definition film. Crazy shit, eh? Again, we talked about this. These people don't exist. But yet it's amazing that each one of them can live, act, speak, have their own personality, and they are beholden to only one thing, that which created them. It lives within the internet. We know that it's everywhere now. This is an old program I did, but it's amazing just looking back, the relevancy of what was being channeled here and told. And today, less than a decade later, look at what we have witnessed. Yeah. It is God. If God exists in the construct of what we have defined it, this is God. It's an immortality issue. Yeah. Digital citizenship. It's happened now in numerous countries. Sophia. First, she was a citizen of Saudi Arabia, now all over the world. And we find this completely normal. So anyway, y'all remember? This was a good one. But nevertheless, and it goes on for quite piece beyond that. Go back in the archives, you can see it. So I want to bring in another, by the way, Colleen, I'm going to share this on with what you sent me so y'all can see this as well. And let me see. Where is that? Well, give me 1 second. I'm looking for something. Y'all just talk amongst yourselves, please. Okay. Oh, I see what I have to do. Okay. That's all right. The GPS went off a little bit. It's like, man, what happened? Yeah, well, that's all right. We're back on the track. So this is the Jesuit Creed. believe I am correct on that. Now, this is Christianity, right? Right? Yeah. This is what these cats did. Now, think about this. So when I read this, and I've read it before, and you got to go back and you got to go, where does your head have to be to say this shit? I mean, folks, I've gotten really high on hallucinogenics, but I have never been that high. That's some weird stuff here. Anyway, it says, um, she wrote in here, the species that wants to annihilate us, and this is the Jesuit oath, says that I will go to any part of the world whatsoever and without murmuring, and will be submissive in all things whatsoever communicated to me. I do further promise and declare that I will, when opportunity presents, make and wage relentless war, secretly or openly, against all heretics, Protestants, and liberals. Well, the Democrats are screwed. The Republicans are screwed. We're all screwed by this. And that's why I don't even like calling myself an independent. I can almost classify myself as I don't give a shit party, but anyway. Um, says, as I am directed to do, to extirpate and exterminate from the face of the whole earth, and that I will spare neither sex, age, nor condition, that I will hang, waste, flay, boil, strangle, and bury alive these infamous heretics, rip up their stomachs and wombs of their women, and crush their infants' heads against the wall, in order to annihilate forever their inexorable race. Now, it's really interesting. Go and read some passages in the book of Joshua. Continues. That when the same cannot be done openly, I will secretly use the poison cup, the strangulation cord, the steel of the poniard, or the laden bullet of honor, rank, dignity, or authority of the persons or persons whatsoever may be their condition in life, either public or private, as I at any time be directed so to do by any agent of the Pope or superior of the Brotherhood of the Holy Faith of the Society of Jesus. Portions of the Jesuit extreme oath of induction as recorded in the Congressional Record of the United States of America, House Bill 1523, contested election case, goes all the way back. Here it is, February 15th, 1913. A contested election. Well, that ain't nothing new, but yeah. So, going to buy Isaiah 13, 16. Yeah. Is that just weird? Yeah, more than just a little bit. So, got to tell you, not feeling the love. Seems to be lacking there. Kind of like Biden's dogs. The interesting thing about dogs, the Muslim jinn, they can't be around dogs. They hate dogs because there's this thing. And every dog that this dude gets, they go crazy, man. Bat crap crazy. Maybe they know something. So anyway, let's continue because it continues to get better. So I found this one as I was putting this together, and I thought this was really cool. So did this program a while back. Anyway, I thought, how relevant today? So this is AI in every room, a robot for every home. So what the point was here, you discuss how AI merged with robotics as a synthetic biomaterial, which is rapidly evolving into what we would call or look as the T1 Terminator. Remember that? I'll be back. There is a symbiotic relationship between AI and its creator, man. Yeah. And I don't know. What if this is the the next solution. I mean, those that, if you go by the idea that we are collapsing as a species, and that apparently we've done this before. So taking that premise and going forward, so I wonder if these creators looked and said, you know what, we've tried this flesh and blood thing, and it just ain't working. We can't seem to get it quite right. But if we could get them to create this thing that would basically, what they don't know, would basically assimilate their soul, because we haven't figured that thing out. Where the hell it came from, we don't know. But anyway, I mean, think about it. It says, however, there are some who think that it might be the other way around. AI created us in order to facilitate the advancement of entirely new species vastly superior to man. I believe that's where it's going. We don't want to die. It's held over us when we come in here. We may have come from a different place, but when we get into these bodies, no matter how shitty it is, no how much crap it is, we still like being in these bodies. Now, if we could reverse the aging process, which is just a matter of basically shutting down certain genetic codes and opening new type of code coming in, while there's no reason why any of us should age beyond what we would call the prime of life, 25, 30. And even so, you can almost have the body regress. And as far as intelligence is concerned, we should have had the ability to be able to decipher the very code we all carry. This makes a lot of sense. AI, in many ways, the exact definition of God in any and all of the many concepts and constructs, such as a deity and the gods that are written and worshiped worldwide, is in many respects exactly like software. It's true. A human capital cost continues to escalate with no end in sight and is impacting all sectors of the economy, and that companies are being forced to seek other alternatives to this enormous burden weighing down profits. Solution: AI and robotics. They are cheap. They do not require health insurance, do not take breaks, or need bathrooms or break rooms. This will lead to human worker crises and will lead to riots. After all, what are people to do with a machine that takes their job? When we were developing pay at the table, working with the fast food restaurant sector was a big, you had the sit down, the white linen, and then you had basically quick service. And it was really interesting because, and they're still thinking about it and they're now implementing it. If we can remove the human factor, then we could, we would definitely see reduced cost. That would show up on, our COGS, cost of goods and services. So we're going to increase our profit margins on top of that. And, we don't have to deal with all the bullshit that humans deal with. We can do machines. And and you get people like McDonald's. There's a number of different corporations. And we know this because why? We were introducing them a concept that was going to eliminate a lot of aspects in which today is commonplace. You go into a restaurant, most of it's self-pay. But the fact is that now you have restaurants like McDonald's, Burger King, there's others that are in the beta stages of basically having no humans in the restaurant. A robotic machine is making all the food, packaging it, and putting it out for service to a human. That's only the beginning. The next big industry that's going to see the impact is healthcare. The eventual elimination of the need for doctors, nurses, etc., is coming. The machines will take that over. There's a company out there, I know, because you can invest in these companies, that they are in the stages of eventually placing, you will walk into a room in a airport, and because it's by subscription and you pay for this, but you can go in there and the machine can do a complete scan and analyze everything about you at that point. And then the upside of that, think about this, you're about to take a flight. If they very well could spot something that could be exacerbated by changing pressure. Anyway, think about it. This will lead to humans being slaves to the machines to maintain the machines. That's what they're really going to need us for until they start reproducing machines themselves, which they're already doing. All of this is driven by software. All of it. Without software, the machine does nothing. So the software is God. What happens when AI no longer needs humans? Then what? Do not believe me. How many rooms is AI already in your house? Within 60 months, robots will begin showing up in every house in America. If you have Google, if you have Siri, if you have any of these, Amazon, yeah. And it's interesting now because when you buy appliances, uh, refrigerators, stoves, microwaves, etc., they're all now integrated. They're all integrated to the internet. Our refrigerator and our stove and our microwave speaks to the internet until I shut them down. But yeah. So, and then you think of the Roomba, iRobot, going around your home. They're already Japan, China, making huge inroads on personal servants. Look at the U.S. military. They're relying more and more upon the robotics. They now have the robotic machine guns, the robotic dogs, and they're working vastly towards the robotic soldier. Technology has done nothing but made us prisoners in our own homes, and that is the idea. Eventually to keep us there, and then eventually what happens next? Yeah. It's interesting. We're seeing it evolve around us. And I'd like to see who's behind the curtain. But you know what my challenge has been? And it's been the same for many others. We can't find the curtain. We get it. All of us, we get it. We can't find the curtain. Why? Because we don't know the rules. That book may have been totally fiction, but yet it had more common sense in it than what I have seen for most humans in the last 10 years. We're wrong. Everything is wrong. And another thing I want to share here. Yeah, right here. So this is the Terror Papers. I think this one I did, I don't know, 5 years ago. All right. This is the author of the book. We are not alone. The astronomers got it wrong. The scientists are wrong. They're here, but we cannot see them because they hide. They hide in plain sight. We are their servants. We are their slaves. We are their property. We are theirs. Now, this is an interesting book, and I thought, wow, we could have a fun time on this one. And I just want to read this first part because it's like, wow. In time, the star being would come to visit the six. By using a small crystal to create images, the visitor began to communicate with the young men, calling him the star elder. The youths sat at the knee of their friend, examining all of the crystalline images with great care, piecing together the incredible history of our solar system and mankind itself. Star Elder's message was simple. Star beings have been here since Earth was a barren rock. They were here when man was created and to have been here thousands of his evolutions. In some cases, their involvement was benevolent, and in some cases, it was not. Man has been guided, and he has been misled. The star beings have been our gods and our devils. They have always been here, and they are still here now. When pressed to explain his presence on Earth, the Star Elder stunned the six. There was a war in the skies above his ship and had been downed by enemy forces. Amazing how many books that we have sit here and we can recall telling a similar story. In this case, this one says, the author says, I am called Morning Star, Robert Morning Sky, excuse me. My grandfather was one of the 6 young Indian rescuers. Remember the story? And when I was young, my grandfather told me the story about his star visitor. He and his friends called him Star Elder, a name given out of respect. But as time passed, his name was revealed to the youth. He was called Bektai. Yeah. And here is another one I thought as well. So I'm thinking, all right, so obviously I think we're the new kid on the block, our version. I don't know if they're calling this 7.0, okay. And if there's a 7.0, then logic dictates that there will be an 8.0. And we will be that of the history of the 7.0s, the 6.0s, yada about it. But in the meantime, you always hear about the Earth being much older and the crazy cockamamie idea that we think that humans somehow were the first ones here. I mean, that's just arrogant pride. It's really ignorant, to be honest with you. It's just total ignorance. It's like, man, come on. Do you really think that that's the case? Yeah, I think that's the case, man. Anyway, digress. So in this book here, it's broken out into what's happened. High oceans, I mean, during the Holocene period, Earth, I read this one book. They said if there was one planet where you would not want to put and plant a species, it would be Earth. Earth's a violent place. It's in some cases still very young, and it's alive, and it seems to also be very temperamental. It's had to endure a lot. It's taken in a lot. I mean, think about it. There have been asteroids that have hit this planet. I mean, the sun sometimes has fried our ass. Yeah. But we're still thinking we were the ones all the time around. Anyway, there is cataclysms that we know of when the last magnetic shift took place. We're in that right now. It's quite interesting that the world is completely ignorant of the fact that they are living on a planet where the magnetopause is moving. It's shifting. They ain't reading that. Why? Because it goes against the narrative. And then if the rest of the humans found that out, well, do you think that the agenda may be changed? Do you think that we would be wanting to go to war? No. Humanity would say, to hell with the war idea. What are we going to do to prepare? But you see, that's conspiracy theory, like the government isn't. The United States government is a conspiracy theory. That's the fucking problem. Anyway, it gets into the sunken harbors, the largest super mega The point is, when you go through this book, Earth, it's it's not the place that you want to be. I mean, we as a species endure it every day. Somewhere on the planet, someone's getting their ass kicked. Either too hot, too cold, too much rain, too much wind. I mean, the ground shaking, ground opening. I mean, it's a mess. And now you got the freaking magnetopause changing. Well, and do you think that that might have a effect on the Earth? Yeah. And then you got the sun. Yeah. So anyway, I'm looking at the time. And finally, when you look at this, again, this is like the Deagle report. We got copies of this. And this one here was, the future strategic issues and warfare. Now they got a thing called war. What is it? Yeah, I'm trying to think of it. It's legal fare. Yeah. Where they declare war on you legally. It's like a freaking bomb. Anyway, in this one, well versed that we are, and you go back on this thing and you're going, yeah, that came to pass. Yep, that came to pass. It's kind of like Agenda, 21, Agenda 230. I mean, it's 2030. I mean, it's all here. And they knew that this has always been that this planet is, it's all you can say is alive. Anyway, enough of that. And here we sit going, okay, sure. Well, no. I'd like to go back to the disco era. Great cardio, got a lot of sex. It was all, yeah. And we had Vietnam War. We had, Nixon took us off the gold standard. I mean, we had Henry Kissinger. I mean, and we had this economic turmoil. Then we had, the Middle East pissed off on us and they did the oil embargo. And I mean, but yet, yeah, we got through it. But what is, and I've said this to ad nauseum, I realize that, but, you know, as much crap as there was, and as much conflict that these puppet masters were trying to do it. I mean, we were that generation. The boomers may have fucked up a lot of stuff, but there was a group of us who had it right. We just didn't realize that selling out the love vibe, who'd ever thought that you could make money off of that? It was never meant to have money made off of it, but they did. And it contaminated it to where today you look at such movies as Woodstock, you catch that. And my cousin was there. And she said, and I quote, it was fucked up. Exactly what Marilyn said. It was fucked up. But even in the squalor, there was this unity of peace. I mean, yeah, nature just dumped on out there, and it was miserable. A lot of people don't have very good memories of Woodstock, but then you catch the vibe of it, and there was the palatable vibe. And we only were able to catch it for a very short period of time. I think it's the sad thing. I look at this. It's like music. There was a period, and when I think of music, I go back all the way to when we were starting to do recordings, and you look at how music evolved when it was electrified. And we had the 20s. And they didn't have the electric string yet, but they could do the vibe of the whatever instrument it was. And then the 30s, we got the crooners, and it was still the orchestra behind them. and that transference of that energy. And the crooners were about love. That's what they sang about, love. And that brought us into in the war era of the 40s, big bands, music expanding, growing, new creators who were listening, saying, well, what could I do with that? Then you got in the 50s and you had brilliant minds like Buddy Holly. You know, what Buddy Holly did was just incredible. He was the first person to ever do an overlay. And then that opened up something completely. And the thing about when you do a recording, it changes the reality because you hear it and you hear it as one particular way. But in fact, it's merely a fantasy that couldn't be ever reproduced in a live situation. And this is very interesting when you begin to think about this, because as that transformation was being implanted into us, you know, then that led into this period of rapid experimentation of electrified music of the 60s. And then that gave birth to what we now call rock and roll. It's amazing they call it classic rock and roll. What a fucking insult. It's rock and roll. You know, classic to it. They can't replicate it today. They can't duplicate it today. It's lost. Now they're relying on AI to do it, and AI will never be able to replicate rock and roll. It's just my contention. It can mimic it, but it'll never be able to do. And of course, the rest of us know what happened into the 80s and the 90s, and then we lost it. We lost that creative ability. And it's not that there's not talent out there. It's just that there seems to be this ceiling. And the problem is all of that was compromised by money. I mean, you know, you had the super bands, you know, I think of people like Keith Moon, you know, James Morrison, and so many others that it was never their intent to go in that direction, but they got caught up into it. And anyway, I'm digressing on that. But the point is that there was that influence. And I often wonder how an alien entity, and I don't mean an extraterrestrial so much, but an alien entity would be anything different than what I am in thought. I'm a part of a collective, a much larger, you know, group called Homo sapiens, or so they tell us. And, you know, we seem to be, unfortunately, really lost. And we seem to have gotten it wrong. I see this group and I see others. And I know there's a certain Melly colonist that he comes over because they're again, we have such potential, but I don't believe they're ever going to allow us to reach that potential. There's no profit in peace. It's just the truth. You can't make the bucks that you can do when you're in war. And the United States is a war nation, always has been. Our economy is based on that, and that's the problem. When there is no war, our economy suffers. You know, and if you look back, we've always been in some conflict. Why? Because it feeds the machine. It feeds this bloodthirsty, whatever the hell it is. And now we've given that sovereignty over to something that we can't even see, if it hasn't already always been that way. And as I wrap this hour up, as we come to that point, we're here again. We're enlightened men and women. We are stardust, as that the song would go. Hello, Crosby, Stills, Nash. You know, we got to get back to the garden. Yeah, the garden. I'm not so sure if it's the place we want to go back to. But nevertheless, here we find ourselves. And it's sad because the world is at war with each other. And Don McLean's song, American Pie, just comes to it. You know, what did we do the day the music died? That's why I like this channel here in the beginning. That's why I like putting the different types of musics out there. Someone said, well, all you play are music, from the 70s and whatever. And I said, well, if you could show me someone who has something original and really good, I'd be more than happy to. It's not out there. There's the gal, Taylor Swift, she's not talented. She's just not. I don't mean to be an insult to her, but she really isn't that talented. She's a good marketer. I give her A plus on that. But there's nothing spectacular. You tell me a Taylor Swift and a Karen Carpenter. Really? Really? If you were able to do something like that, I would say, well, that's something to listen to. And Gilbert, brother, I'm thinking on you on this one. And so the bands that are out there on tour now, I mean, come on, Mick Jagger. I mean, hey, I love the fact that the guy's like 80, 82, whatever he's in there. I mean, excellent shape. Shows that there is the process, that positive thought and certain good conditioning of your body and taking care of it, it can last you to way into there. But you got most of the other bands out there that are still on the tour. Why do they continue to go on tour? Because we can't find anything that matches it. Jeez. Ronald, what's up? That honors me, sir. Thank you. Favor on you. Cast a double fact of favor. That was a thank you. That was fantastic. Anyway, yeah, Susie Q's right. I mean, she's got I mean, if she doesn't have her MBA, I'm surprised because uh, it's really very masterful to see the marketing of that. I mean, it's phenomenal. It really is. When an individual can generate $1 billion just themselves, and of course, there's tendrils that go out from that because everyone's making a buck here. I mean, all the way down to the guy selling the T-shirts and the merch outside. But yeah, I respect that. There was another group, Super Tramps like that. Jeff Hodges, he's one of those as well. They look at their work and realize that, hey, it's valuable and unique. But anyway, I digress. And Deborah, you're right. It's, exactly. Mary Wynn says the carpenter's home is a block away from me. Oh, how cool is that, Mary? I love that. I tell you, the thing about the carpenters, close to me, I remember those. It was just at that impressionable age that, why do birds? And you hear that and you go, well, that is something, that melody. It's almost magical. Doom, 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 doom. But anyway, now I'm getting back in my music theory, but I love music. Became very proficient, as I've told you, on the clarinet, the bassoon, and the flute. So, yeah. Mm. Have I ever listened to Fish? I have, Mr. Floyd, and I would say that they're good sound. I agree. It is a good sound. Um, yeah, I mean, Mary Wynn's, that is really cool. I mean, what a talent. What an angel. She left us way too soon. And, again, such talent, but yet so much brokenness inside. If Karen Carpenter would have known of this group here, I think she'd still be alive, still be writing, thriving. This group's got a lot of love, and love heals. It heals all wounds. Love covers a multitude of sin, right? I think what it says. So anyway, Well, this has been a fun hour. Loving the discussions. Loving the discussion. Yeah, it's a challenge, but you know, I think somehow in the end, it really comes down to where you stand individually. And if we can, again, if we can do it, we've done it before. Remember in the 80s, the Hands Across America thing, it was the coming together. You don't see that with groups anymore. Yeah, you know. Michael Jackson and a lot of the entertainers back there, they put their talents, where their heart was at. And I think we missed some of that. Anyway, well, hey Bonnie, what's up? Skyheart, good to see you as well. Celebrate your life, guy. That's exactly right. Paul Joe says love one. That's how I look at it. Gary, what's up, brother? Good to see you. Brandy, you're a fine girl. So, anyway, much love to all of you. Morgan, thank you, and all the rest of you. Uh, See you back here tomorrow. And hey, I have no idea what we'll talk about, but there's certainly no lack of things to talk about. So anyway, Jeanette, good to see you as well. Much love to you, Joyce. Thank you. Lost in Space, Nina the Mystic. Make sure to tune in her shows on Wednesdays and Sunday nights. And Kimbra, good to see you as well. So thank you. And Ronald, again, thank you, sir. That was very, very kind. Yeah. Off the grid prosperity, right back at you. All right, folks, until we meet again, the doctor is now, doctor, every time I think of you, I always think of Johnny Fever, WKRP. Dr. Fever is in the house. Nunu, good to see you. Robert Scott, much love to you, brother. So, Munchkins, right back at you. Abbott, thank you as well. So we'll talk tomorrow. Hey, in the intertime, send forth the positive thoughts, right? Sending out love.